Welcome to this virtual assembly. This is our final assembly on the 10 commandments, and we're going to be thinking today about the commandment that tells us not to lie. We're going to be using the story of Peter to help us think about this commandment. And Peter was a fisherman. So for our first game, I've got a challenge for you to do with fish, and can you identify certain type of fish? So have a go at this. So in the fish challenge, you've got to identify what fish you can see, and I'll give you some choices. So is this an African butterfly or a black angelfish? Make your vote now. Here is the answer. That one is an African butterfly fish. What about this one? Bluefin tuna or blue ghost catfish? Is that a type of tuna or a type of catfish? Vote now. And the answer is, it's the catfish, the blue goat catfish. What about this one? Elephant nose fish or long fin leopard fish? Elephant nose fish or long fin leopard fish? Make your mind up. And the answer is the elephant nose fish. What about this one? Is that the, it is a goldfish, but is it a lion head or a bubble eye goldfish? Have a vote, lion head or bubble eye goldfish. Make up your mind. Here comes the answer. That's the lion head goldfish. So here we have either a black molly fish or a black banded leporanus fish. Which one do you want to go for? Have you voted? Well, the correct one is the molly, the black molly fish. So, what do we have here? Needlefish or swordfish? Here comes the answer. That one is a needlefish. And is this a red mullet or a red Oscar fish? Red mullet or red Oscar? Well, here is the answer. This one is the Oscar fish. And the Australian rainbow platyfish or the red belly pacu fish? Have you made a choice? Well, I'm going to show the answer. It looks rainbowish, and it is rainbowish. Australian rainbow platyfish. And then we have the black spotted goldfish or a red phantom tetrafish. Which one are you going to vote for? Well, that one is the phantom fish, red phantom tetrafish. And a gold mollyfish or a pineapple swordtail fish? This one is the swordtail fish. Red Mickey Mouse platyfish or sunset firefish? Mickey Mouse fish or sunset firefish? Well, the Mickey Mouse fish sounds a bit unbelievable, but actually is right. It's a red Mickey Mouse platyfish. I wonder how well you did in that game. Well, Peter was a fisherman. When Jesus first called him, that's what his job was, and even in his time of ministry he would often go off and he still had to earn his living and catch fish. And we're going to watch a story in a moment, but in the story Peter is really sad because he'd told a lie and he'd really let down his best friend. So we'll watch this video from Saddleback, and then we'll just have a think about why telling the truth is so important.
The Miracle of Mercy, Peter. This is Peter.
Hey-o! Whoop!
Peter was a fisherman who was called by Jesus.
Hey!
Peter saw the many miracles of Jesus, and he heard all of his teachings. When the time came for Jesus to die and take away the sins of all the world, Jesus had one final meal with his friends. During this meal, Jesus told his followers that the time had come for him to leave them.
Huh?
Peter asked, "Where are you going?" Jesus told him Peter couldn't follow him now,
What?
but that he would follow him later.
Wait a second.
But Peter said, "Why can't I come now? I'm ready to die for you." Jesus said, "Die for me? Peter, before the rooster crows tomorrow morning, you will deny 3 times that you even knew me." Then Jesus and his disciples went to the Mount of Olives so Jesus could pray. Along the way, Jesus told his followers that they would all abandon him.
Uh-oh.
But Peter said, "Even if everyone else leaves you, I never will." Jesus said, "Peter, this very night, before the rooster crows, you will deny 3 times that you even know me." But Peter wouldn't believe it and vowed that he would stay with Jesus until the very end. The other disciples vowed the same.
Yeah, I hear.
Later on that night, Jesus was arrested by men sent by the religious teachers and priests. Peter tried to fight for Jesus, and he cut off the ear of one of the guards.
Ow.
But Jesus healed the guard
Huh?
and went quietly with the captors. All the disciples scattered just as Jesus told them they would. The men led Jesus away to the house of the high priest. Peter and another disciple followed them. Peter came to warm himself by their fire.
Hello.
A servant girl noticed him in the firelight.
Huh?
Finally, she said, "This man was one of Jesus' followers."
Oh, ma.
But Peter denied it for the first time. He said, "I don't even know him." After a while, someone else looked at him and said, "You must be one of them."
Oh.
Peter, for a second time, said, "No, I'm not."
Okay.
About an hour later, a man who knew the man whose ear Peter cut off said, "Didn't I see you in the olive grove with Jesus? This must be one of them. He comes from the same place as all of them."
Yeah, you're right.
But Peter said,
No.
"I don't know what you're talking about." And then Peter heard the crow of the rooster. Jesus turned and looked at Peter. Jesus' words flashed through his mind, and Peter left the courtyard weeping. Then Jesus died and was placed in a tomb. The disciples heard that he had come back from the dead. Peter even saw the empty tomb and believed that Jesus was alive again.
Woohoo!
And Jesus appeared to the disciples to show him that he was alive. Some of Jesus' followers were together when Peter said, "I am going fishing."
Okay.
So they all went out to the sea, but caught nothing all night. At dawn, they saw a man standing on the beach.
Oh, hey, over here.
The man called out to them and said, "Have you caught any fish?"
Nope.
The man said, "Throw out your net on the right side and you'll get some."
Okay.
So they did, and they couldn't bring in the net because there were so many fish in it. Then one of the men on the boat said to Peter, "It's Jesus." When Peter heard that it was Jesus, he swam to the shore while the others pulled in the load to the boat. When they got there, they found breakfast waiting for them.
Bring me some fish. Got it.
Jesus said, "Come have some breakfast." While they were eating, Jesus asked Peter, "Do you love me?" Peter said, "Yes, you know I love you." So Jesus said, "Then feed my lambs." Then Jesus asked again, "Do you love me?" Peter said again, "Yes, you know I love you." And Jesus said, "Then take care of my sheep." And then a third time, Jesus asked Peter, "Do you love me?" Peter was hurt that Jesus asked the question a third time, so he said, "You know everything. You know that I love you." So Jesus said one last time, "Then feed my sheep." And so Peter went on to feed Jesus' sheep by helping establish the church and by writing books that we can now read in the Bible. And though he denied Jesus, he was forgiven, and many came to know the love and forgiveness of Jesus through Peter.
So what was Peter's lie? Can you remember what Peter said when the girl asked him if he knew Jesus? He told a lie, didn't he? Not once, not twice, but 3 times. He said he'd never known Jesus, even though he'd spent the last 3 years of his life, pretty much the whole time with Jesus. He lied about it. Now, he lied out of fear. He was afraid what had happened to Jesus might happen to him. But he still lied. Sometimes it's easy to take that option. But the lies caught up with him. And later, he felt so bad about that. When we do lie, we do feel bad about it. We recognise that it's wrong. There's something in us that knows that telling lies is wrong, not just for Christians, but for people all over the world. God says don't lie, because that's the way that the human race can relate better to each other. If people didn't lie, wouldn't life be so much better for everyone? That's what the Ten Commandments are all about, God's guide for how we can live in harmony and peace with each other. Of course, one of the things about the Christian faith is that even though we do make mistakes, we believe that we can say sorry. It's called repenting, saying sorry and really meaning it. And Christians believe that Jesus takes away that, what we call sin, when we do things wrong. So when we do make mistakes, it's really important that we own up, just like Peter did in the story. Remember at the end where Jesus gave him that opportunity to own up, to confess, to say, Jesus, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have told that lie. And that's what happened, and Jesus and Peter were reunited. And actually, Jesus chose Peter to be the leader of this new church that was about to start and to grow across the whole world. So the final commandment that we've looked at in this series is don't lie. And like the other commandments, they're all to do with loving our neighbours as ourselves. The first few are about loving God. The last 6 are all to do with loving and caring for each other. I'm just going to finish this assembly by saying a prayer. Dear God, we thank you that these commandments are there to help us to live in a good and right way. Please help us to not lie, to not steal, to not hurt each other, to keep our promises so that we can treat each other with respect. Amen. Well, thank you for joining me in this series on the 10 Commandments, and I'll see you again soon.